When the Arizona Cardinals gave Cliff Kingsbury the pink slip, Michael Bidwell said that they were going to search long and wide for their next head coach. They were going to take their time. They weren't going to rush anything because they wanted to make sure that they got this right. They brought back Bengals defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo and New York Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka for second interviews. And at that time, it looked like one of those two guys were going to end up with this coaching job. And then Arizona said, we're going to announce our new head coach after the Super Bowl. And then out of nowhere this past weekend, reports started to circulate that the leading candidate for Arizona's head coaching vacancy wasn't Lou Anarumo or Mike Kafka, the two guys they brought back for second interviews, but Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon. And after his defense got carved up in the Super Bowl by Big Red, Eric Bieniemy, and Patrick Mahomes, the Cardinals brought him in for his first interview, and then they hired him. Now, the reason why they had a difficult time getting him in before the big game was the fact that he was prepping for it. Plus, they were hosting the Super Bowl, so they didn't want to take too much attention off it, which is why they made the decision to announce their new head coach after the big game was over. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm really skeptical about this hire. And it's not solely based on how Jonathan Gannon's defense performed in the Super Bowl, but it's because I feel like Lou Anarumo, Cincinnati's defensive coordinator, was a better fit for this job. Jonathan Gannon has coached some really good defenses during his time in Philadelphia. But Lou Anarumo is one of the best defensive minds in the game right now. And Travis Kelce gave him a lot of praise on a recent episode of his podcast that he does with his brother Jason Kelce. And Lou Anarumo always plays some of the best quarterbacks in offenses really tough. Kansas City has their most problems against Lou Anarumo's defense. And you also saw what Lou Anarumo's defense did in the divisional round when they shut down the Buffalo Bills offense and Josh Allen. When you look at Jonathan Gannon, the fact that his defense struggled in the Super Bowl really concerned me. If Lou Anarumo was the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think they might have just won the Super Bowl because he has a lot of success against some of the best offenses and the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And although his defenses aren't as good as Jonathan Gannon's defenses statistically, Lou Anarumo is one of the best big game DCs in the league right now. And for Jonathan Gannon, he's heading to the NFC West in a division that has two of the best offensive minds in the game right now, and Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. Now, Arizona gave him a 5-year deal, which is a good thing because it says, hey, we know that this is probably going to take a year or two to get off the ground. And when you compare Arizona to the rest of the NFC West, they have a lot of work to do. The Seattle Seahawks, they dominated last year's draft. And plus, they have a lot of draft picks coming up in this year's draft. So they're probably going to be a force to be reckoned with for the foreseeable future with all of the great young talent that they have. You have the LA Rams. They have Sean McVay coming back. You still have your core guys still there. Matthew Stafford, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp. But you do have a lot of holes outside of those guys that you have to figure out. But we expect the Rams to at least be a playoff team. And then you have the San Francisco 49ers, who pretty much are a perennial Super Bowl contender. So for the Arizona Cardinals and Jonathan Gannon, this is going to be a complete roster overhaul almost. You have a couple of pieces to work with. You do have Kyler Murray at quarterback, which I do believe he's going to come back from that ACL injury fine. I don't think he's going to end up regressing. I do believe in him still. I do believe that he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You have a pretty solid group of wide receivers, but you do have to revamp the offensive line and the defensive line. You have some question marks at cornerback outside of Marco Wilson, who I felt had a pretty good season. You got Budda Baker, Isaiah Simmons, Xavier Collins. So you have a couple of pieces to work with, but overall, this is going to be a 1 or a 2 year rebuild in Arizona. And when you look at how the league has gravitated towards offensive-minded coaches, Jonathan Gannon really has to make a home run hire at offensive coordinator. Now, the early reports coming out is that the current quarterbacks coach of the Cleveland Browns is the rumored favorite to be Jonathan Gannon's offensive coordinator in Glendale. But even then, how is the rest of his staff going to look? When you're a defensive-minded coach, you have to make sure that you get offensive coordinator right. Especially when you have a quarterback like Kyler Murray, you can't just put him into any offense. You have to build a special offense around his skill set. Not only that, but the fact that Jonathan Gannon got carved up in the Super Bowl by Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy's play calling. Deebo Samuel said that there were a lot of things that the 49ers saw that they were ready to take advantage of, but they weren't able to due to the injuries that they sustained at quarterback during the conference championship game. So I'm really on edge about this hire. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad hire, and I'm not saying that it's not going to work, but if you were to ask me to rank all of the 5 head coaching hires in order from the ones that I have the most confidence in to the least confidence in, this one would rank dead last. I don't have a lot of confidence that this is going to work. I'm not saying that it's not going to work, because it very well could. Jonathan Gannon, he's a young guy, very energetic. The players gravitate towards him. And Nick Sirianni had a lot of positive things to say about him. So I do believe that there is a chance that this can work, and I am going to give him a chance. It would be a little bit dumb for me just to say that this isn't going to work without seeing the staff that he puts together and at least giving him a chance to see how he does on the field. But I'm really just skeptical about this. I feel like Lou Anarumo would have been the better hire. I think he has a better resume, a better track record. And when you're in the division with Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, and you're a defensive-minded coach, you're going to have your work cut out for you. But at the same time, though, it could be a good thing that Arizona decided to switch things up and go away from what the majority of teams are doing, getting offensive-minded coaches. Because if you're in the division with 2 elite offensive minds, and you have an elite defensive-minded coach who could find a way to neutralize those offenses, then that could end up being a plus. But let me know how you guys feel about the Arizona Cardinals hiring Jonathan Gannon as their new head coach. How do you guys feel about it? Are you skeptical about it? Do you think that is going to work? Let me know down in the comment section down below. Make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, make sure that you check out the JT Sports Podcast. Every single video that's uploaded on the channel is available in the audio format on all podcasting platforms. Wherever you get your podcasts from, Apple, Google, Amazon, Spotify, you can find the JT Sports Podcast. Appreciate you guys for listening to this episode, tuning into this video. Make sure that you share with your friends, family, and acquaintances. And I'll see you guys shortly with another video.